2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
Hey, Philly sports fans. Here we are on a Thursday, March 20th, 2025, with another edition of Philly Pressbox Radio, episode number 540 to be precise, brought to you by the Irish Rovers Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I am not Bill Furman. He's traveling this week. A family vacation, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm here. I'm Chet. And I'll be with you for the next hour, and I will soon introduce a very special co-host for the show. And I'll tell you that we'll talk about the Super Bowl champion Eagles' latest comings and goings. A legend has made it official. He is retiring. The Flyers and Sixers continue to pile up the losses. The Wells Fargo Center will be very quiet this April and May, it seems. March Madness is officially underway. And we are a week away from the start of another Phillies baseball season. Yes, sir. Well, my pinch-hitting co-host and I will discuss all of that and more over the next hour. And you'll also enjoy an interview that I taped just the other day with Mr. Spring Training down in Clearwater. I'm talking, of course, about Chris Wheeler. Always great to see Wheels down in sunny Florida. But you know what? Right now, let's do it. Let's bring on the guy that I was just talking about, my special co-host for the week. I got to get rid of this picture first. There we go. You know him from our time with the Edge of Philly Sports Network, and he co-founded that, by the way, many, many years ago. It's Big Al Zaffiri. How are you, Al?
Chet, what's going on, brother? Happy to be back.
Man. Life is good. Life is good. So first thing, our pal Phil Stifle has been slapping together our weekly Philly Pressbox Radio promo picks since last fall, something that you used to do for us. And this week he came up with this one. So I got to say, that is quite a look. That was, I guess, a couple of years ago at Delco Day. But what does that pose, Al?
That was a lot of alcohol at that point in time. You leave it to Phil to find the most flattering picture of me. That was about 35 pounds ago, and that was also, I guess I can pull off pink. Not too much, but I can pull it off. But yeah, Delco Day 8, which you were there, I believe. Yeah, you were at that one.
Yes, I was.
Always, like I said, always the man about town. This year will be the 10th installment. That's right, 10 years in the making.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. I'm marking my calendar, though, for Delco Day 10, which is June 7th. So everybody else mark your calendars as well. All right. Because you're filling in for Bill Furman this week, just a reminder to be sure to bash Joel Embiid whenever there's an opportunity. And
it won't be that hard anymore. If you ask
this Hollywood related. Oh, I know.
Don't worry. I'll do my best Bill for you.
Yeah,
you're wrong, Chet. There you go.
Sad but true about Embiid. I'll tell you that. Let's see if we got any comments. People excited about your presence. Marshawn Lynch, she's a fan of the Phil show, of course.
Yeah, the man.
Jane Pearson Fisher, a regular viewer of ours.
Love Jane. Jane, by the way, Jane, I have to mention, still getting good use out of the great blankets. My son and I love them, and they are decorating the man cave in the new Zaffiri household.
That is awesome. Robbie Ellis, of course, who's down in Clearwater still, and she's taking time from her Clearwater vacation, if I'm not mistaken, to watch us. Come on, Robbie, do better. I'm just kidding. I saw Robbie on Sunday. It was great to see her and her husband, Bob. PJ asking if I was going solo. Not really. Big Al's going to stay the whole hour because
I'm here.
Hey, this is the.
I don't know if that makes PJ stick around anymore, but I'm here, PJ.
And there's another Embiid basher, my pal Denny, who every week says Joel Embiid is a bum, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know. The STT Sports Network with the green screen. That shirt is trippy on Al.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Look at that.
My favorite, it's the Eagles green that kills it, but Pac-Man, yeah, I know. It's a great shirt, but the green screen, I forgot about that.
But they like your hat.
This is the 2020, this is this year's Salute to Service hat. So, yeah.
Ah, nice.
Bob, how
Everybody
you doing?
welcoming you. Isn't that nice? That is
That's
so
what I love.
awesome.
I mean, listen, that's the one thing about, like, I've guessed on, this show now, and
Yep.
then some with our other buddies like Matty B, Sal G. Still commenting and watching almost every morning with our boy Phil here at FPT. Philly, football stories. I keep stretch my legs. I'm of course not at a home or anything at this point in time. Just really can't do that. But it's still nice to see everybody's out there and having a great time, and you guys are still killing it. So that's great.
Well, Al, I've been down in Florida for the entire past week. I got in late last night after midnight. I was in Orlando and Clearwater. Anything happen on the Philly sports scene while I was away?
Oh, nothing. It's been so slow. Nothing's going. Nobody's freaking out about anything. So you don't have to worry about it. Everybody's very calm, holding hands and singing songs like nothing ever happened.
Oh, that's nice.
But no, some things did happen. And a great is not sticking around, and I want to get your opinion on this with BG.
Check your mic cable first. Your cable came a little loose.
There you go. Is that better?
There you go. Yep.
Sorry, I'm going to not touch that one. I said, I want to get your opinion on this because, some people are unhappy that BG's retiring just because they wanted to see him stick around. But, man, what a career. 15 years. Brandon Graham, you can't we've said this before about guys, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, guys who use the term epitomize Philadelphia. But he really did. He really loved everything about Philly, even though he wasn't a Philly guy from when he started here.
Yeah, 15 years. And, the first couple of years, a lot of people thought he was sort of a semi-bust because he was drafted so high and didn't really produce right away. But here we are 15 years later. He's the team's all-time leader in games played. He's won a couple of Super Bowls. He had the legendary strip sack of Tom Brady in the Super Bowl 7 years ago. So, yeah, all in all, it worked out pretty well for BG. And, yeah, he's a super guy. Had the pleasure of meeting him on numerous occasions. And we wish him the very best in retirement for sure.
Yeah, the very first time I had a chance to, be in the locker room as press for the Eagles, one of the nicest guys. I was a nobody. Nobody knew who I was except for the people there. What up, Brian? But he came up to me and acted like I'd been there the whole time. So that, and I know what he's done for our boy Freddie. I mean, he's really helped out a lot there. So, BG is just one of those guys. And, the old saying is they always said, if Brandon could walk around and shake everybody's hand at the end of the game, all 50,000 people in the stadium, 60,000 people in the stadium, he would. And that's not a lie. That's the beauty of Brandon Graham. He's a great player. I mean, he's not like he's just, I played for a long time. I mean, he has the most memorable strip sack of all time. There is one thing, no matter what, we can win 500 more Super Bowls, but his play was that play. You could talk about Philly. You could talk about the going on for a fourth with the throw to Zach Ertz, or all those different moments during the game. But the strip sack by Brandon Graham literally sealed the deal against the great one at the time, Tom Brady. And he'll never be able to take that away. You'll never be able to, it always will be the first. You always remember your first, the old saying. Yeah. He was the first, and he gave it to, and but he hasn't stopped. It's funny how good he played even before he got injured. And then the story of him, moving forward in this season, think about it this. If he injured himself a week later, he would have never been back in time for the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's just everything worked out just perfectly for a story that you can make a movie about on Brandon Graham.
Yeah, and apparently he re-injured it again in the Super Bowl, but hey, no rush to get it healthy again now.
Yeah.
I think he made the right decision to hang it up. So, put it in the books. Great career for Brandon Graham, and he will certainly be an Eagles Hall of Famer, no doubt about that.
Let me ask you this quick question.
Yeah.
I always kind of felt, I grew up, he was my guy, Dawkins. And then Kelsey, as a guy grew up as center in grade school and high school, then Kelsey was my guy. But knowing just all about Brandon, Jason Kelsey, and Brian Dawkins, I mean, 1, 2, 3, how do you put them on the Mount Rushmore in order?
Well, I think Dawkins will always be my personal favorite, even though he didn't win a Super Bowl. Everybody just loved the way Brian Dawkins played for the Eagles back in the day. Jason Kelsey, same thing. So I'm going to put Kelsey behind Dawkins. And anybody else besides BG you want me to add in there?
No, just those three. Like to me, they're the three.
BG will still be third for me. Just, I guess, because of the talent level. He didn't have the number of, Pro Bowls and whatever that the other two guys had. But if we're talking about class human beings, all three of them certainly fit that bill. And he'll never be forgotten because of the way he was with fans and the fact that he's probably going to hold this record for a long, long time, maybe forever. The fact that he's an Eagle who played the longest amount of time and the most games. So, yeah,
205,
we'll never forget
man. That's just something you're never going to beat.
Yeah.
This day and age, especially.
For sure. Speaking of the Eagles, though, what do you think of what they've done this offseason otherwise? I mean, they did re-sign Zach Bond before the free agency period actually started, but otherwise, they pretty much had a door that only went one way, and that was out. They lost so many guys on defense, especially. Is that a concern?
I mean, listen, you can't say it's not a concern. I mean, every move is concerned. Nothing's guaranteed. But I actually wrote an article on this for footballstories.com. And I said they're actually if you go back to 2017, 2018, everything that they should have done, they didn't do. And that's what made 2018, 2019, and even 2020 as bad as they were, because they made emotional decisions. I'm going to give this guy a lot of money, even though he might be right there past the prime. They could have paid this guy more. They could have paid this guy all these different things. But Howie, I was very critical of Howie up until right about when they maybe 2021, when they started drafting, and he started drafting from, Georgia and Alabama and the big names and all that stuff, because it was that easy. He was always trying to be the smartest man in the room. It never was a problem with him with contracts and all that. But this year, he's doing everything we wanted him to do, that we kind of lambasted him about not doing in that time frame. He's not getting emotionally attached to anybody. He's making the right moves. I live by the old saying, it's better to get rid of a guy a year early than a year too late. And because, you get Bradbury type situations. I mean, and we forget, the Bryce Huff thing looks like a giant bust right now, but when you win a Super Bowl and you hit on so many other cylinders, you can look past that. But no, if you want to look at it just from a big name standpoint, and I have the same philosophy for the Phillies this year, they didn't need another big name. There was no need to sign a big name. The core guys are still there. They just have the development that the Eagles have had, the coaching staff that the Eagles have put together actually has made a real big difference. Even with bringing in Kenyon Green, the Houston Texans traded with the Eagles to get him. What was it, 2020, 2021, something like that? And then they traded to get him here, and he's been kind of a bust for them. Can a stint in Stoutland University change all that? Possibility. And does it give Tyler Steen something to fight for? Absolutely. Azeez Ojulari, he's another guy. Is it because he was in a bad organization that didn't know how to cultivate what they had in front of him? It's a one-year deal, and he ends up being really good. You might be able to sign him even further. He's making all the right moves, and we have to remember the one big thing is they've stocked a lot of draft picks, and they're going to use that this year and next year, because you're going to have to sign Jalen Carter. And let's be honest, next year, either they're going to do it in this year, in next year, and Jalen Carter is probably going to be the one of the highest paid non-quarterbacks out there. So you have to be ready. And of all the people I really wanted them to pick, I had them in order. Zach Bond was the number one. I figured you're going to get the most bang for your buck out of Zach Bond, and he just has that ability to be all over the place. He is respectful for where he wants to be. I would have loved to see another year of Darius Slay. The CJGJ thing kind of came out of nowhere. The Lane Johnson thing, that was just that's cap space. That's Howie magic right there. Even people got upset about the Barkley extension. Why so much money? It's going to be about cap space. This is how they do it. I mean, the secret sauce is out there. How people haven't figured it out yet is kind of scary to me. You move forward, you keep kicking the can down the lane, and then when the time comes, you just restructure it, give them more money up front, and then you have cap space again. So
Joe says, ain't my money, pay them all.
Pay them all. But listen, there's a salary cap, and you have to. That's what makes Howie and them just always really good. And our old bully Joe Banner out there not making, not trying to criticize people. Yeah, that's all he can do. And here's a guy who never did any of that, who never got a good wide receiver here outside of a year and a half with T.O. You know what I mean? He just didn't want to pay guys, didn't pay the right guys to stay. And that's why we were always falling short then. So criticize all you want, but the proof's in the pudding.
So I heard today the Packers are going through with that plan to petition the NFL to consider outlawing the tush push. What do you think, Al?
Oh man, crybaby! Like that's the biggest crybaby move. I'm sorry. Listen, it's not like you're doing anything illegal. And listen, I coach football, both Pee Wee and I do some high school, and they aren't allowed to do tush pushes. You know, we're not allowed to do tush push. I coach O-line, I coach D-line, and I do offensive play calling and defense, some defense, but mainly offense. But it's you don't have to. Fine. Are you telling me Dallas Goedert's hands on the rear end of AJ or of Jalen Hurts is the difference? No, it's not the difference. When you have the O-line that we have, and it's the old saying is low man wins the battle in this situation, and that's what the offensive line has. They have the low man position, and the other thing is they have a half a second step on the defensive line. You saw that in the NFC Championship game with Washington, right? Here's Washington. Frankie Louvu is trying to just jump the line constantly. You want to know why Cam Jurgens needs back surgery? There's your answer. But they know when they're going to snap the ball, they're already on the heel. So, of course, the Eagles' O-line is going to get first, and then they're going to be pushing. And then you got a guy like Jalen Hurts who can squat 650 plus pounds. And if A.J. Dillon makes the team between him, Barkley, and Hurts, you got the quad squad over here, as they're calling them so far. You don't need the pushing of the hand of Dallas Goedert or anything else. It's just, I'm sorry, if you can't beat us, that's your problem. And you know what? We're not doing anything wrong. Just get over it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the play, but it certainly has been effective. And I would like to see them get away from it a little bit, the Eagles. I don't think it should be outlawed, certainly, but I would like to see them running more traditional quarterback sneaks or, God forbid, a regular old handoff once in a while on a 4th and short.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. Chet Chesko sitting there on the sideline instead of Nick Sirianni. It's 4th and 1. The game's on the line. What play call is Chet calling at that point? Are you going traditional, or are you going for tried and true? That's like an 87% win factor.
Yeah, game on the line. I'm probably going to still go with the tush push,
the
brotherly shove. Yep.
Yes. Which one do you like more, tush push or brotherly shove?
I think brotherly shove because Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. Brotherly shove would be my choice for that. Hey, you mentioned Dallas Goedert. I mentioned I was away the past week. Any further news on the Dallas Goedert situation?
No. The only thing is they brought in Harrison Bryant and there's one other guy. I forget. There was another tight end they brought in Granson. I keep calling Grayson. Granson. So I don't know if that's just, hey, Grant Calcaterra, you're out, or are they preparing to move on from him? So I don't know. Maybe he's a trade bait during the draft, or maybe it's something down the line. We know how Howie works. If you look at some of the big moves that Howie made over the last couple of years, CJ wasn't until later. It wasn't until after the draft. Darius Slay wasn't until later. So these are kind of things that it's not over yet. It might be quiet. It might be, not lackluster, I guess, if you want to call this offseason so far. There hasn't been the big name signing, but the Eagles are writing the script on how to win and stay winning right now. Now, this could be completely wrong, and we don't know, but what they were able to do with of course, the offensive line with Stoutland, Clint Hurt with the defensive line, and bringing Jalix Hunt comes from a school that barely anybody knew existed, let alone, would be drafted from the NFL, and had really stepped up. Nolan Smith thought to be a bust. That changed. And, kind of talking about BG for a second, if BG stayed healthy, playing at the level he was playing before he got injured, it would just been unfair to the NFL at that point. They might as well just ask the offense to stay home and did all the work after that.
Yeah. Well, we'll be talking to the Eagles pretty much all year because
Chet, you went mute on us. Nope, still mute. You're still. It's you have to go look below there, bud. Hold on. I think I can help you. You have to unmute your. Hold on. So Chet popped off, and I guess I'm stuck here while he's got it. Hey, there he is. You're still on the mute. You have to look below on the mute. There you.
Can you hear?
There you are.
Oh, thank God. I look better because you're looking like you're looking this way anyway. So
there you go.
Worked out. Hey, let's talk a little bit about our history. At some point in early 2020, I guess around the outset of the COVID pandemic, Philly Pressbox Radio joined forces with the operation that you and Joey Sheeran had founded years earlier, the Ed Philly Sports Network. Thanks in part, I guess, to our mutual pal, Freddie Burns, who had been on our show numerous times before that, and then became a big contributor at Edge of Philly. In fact, Bill and I did our first show as an affiliate, I guess, of EOP in May of 2020 with you and Freddie Hugo Burns as guests. And we had a great relationship with you guys until last September, Al, 4.25 years plus all told. So what happened last year, Al?
Well, unfortunately, personal things. Life kind of crept up on me. And listen, for those who do follow Edge of Philly, you can still see that Joe is still pumping out the great social media content for everybody over there. But, I was the one who, handling a lot of the, staff stuff with you guys and everything. And it would be a big ask for somebody to do it all on their own, especially all of us having full-time jobs and so on and so forth. But like I said, personal stuff, like I said, I moved, as I mentioned earlier. That was a small part of it. The biggest part was, my son was dealing with some learning issues and, trying to balance this out and do that. And I saw myself kind of not doing the normal, the work I put out there. That I'd be emailing and texting you at 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. It didn't matter. I'd be sending you messages, doing stuff for you. And I just couldn't do it at the same pace. Plus, moving and taking care of that. And my father-in-law moved in. So life really was the main reason. No more, no less. I know there was some rumors running around out there. A lot of the people who, thought we were enemies of theirs or, competition of theirs, that there was some falling out or no, but that just wasn't the case. In this case, it was just, I had to make the decision for my family and also for you guys in a sense, because if I can't give you my best, I wouldn't want to. I think right now, if I kept trying to make it happen, you guys would probably be more mad at me than, happy with me at that point.
Yeah, I wanted you to clear it up because several people did ask, say, what happened? Do you guys have a falling out? Yeah, no. It's just,
No. Listen, I still consider all the people that I worked with, including you and Bill, good friends. And like I said, I wish we said right when we joined, like before we went live, I said, you're like, it's been too long. And I said, way too long. And hopefully that'll start changing over the next coming months and into the next years. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to join you guys whenever. And yes, there was no ill will, bad blood, or any falling out with any piece of EOP at all. Listen, I'm sure people weren't happy. I kind of just dropped a big bomb on a lot of people. It was a decision I had to make. And as you knew, it was an emotional decision I had to make. But it was, I still feel the right one just because of my son.
Yeah. Well, we wish you, all the best, all of that out. Yeah, I had to post that. I know what Joe's referring to. Probably some other people do as well. So there you go.
I do. I love it.
It is pretty funny.
Joe,
Damn you, Joe.
Comment of the night right there, Joe.
But and then here's another. This is more what I should have put up right there. Family does come first, indeed.
Family comes first. You're absolutely right. And it's like I said, I miss it. My wife likes to turn the knife a little bit every so often, rub a little salt in the wounds, if you want to call it. She goes, "You still miss it?" I was like, "Yeah, babe, I still miss it." It's like, funny thing is not funny thing, not to add a little salt to the wound was the Super Bowl. I had a table set at the Super Bowl for Edge of Philly Sports. I would have been down at the Super Bowl covering the Super Bowl on Radio Row in the locker room. And I actually watched a person I knew go in my stead, which was great. And I was happy for him and, kind of helped him out and all that stuff. But Trust me, that I'm watching that Super Bowl and my wife goes to me, that should have been you. I'm like, thanks, babe.
Oh, well, glad to have you on here tonight, and hopefully do it again in a few months. Won't make it quite as long. How about those Flyers and Sixers, Al?
Who?
What a great couple of seasons they're having. Let's see. The Flyers have dropped 7 of their last 8 to fall into last place in the Metropolitan Division and next to last in the entire Eastern Conference, ahead of only the Sabres. They have the 5th worst record in the NHL. Meanwhile, the 76ers, whom Daryl Morey and company, I'm sure, want to lose as often as possible now, have lost 5 of their last 6 and are tied for the 5th worst record of the NBA with the Nets. They obviously want to stay, right about there because, as you're well aware, there is this thing called tanking, and the worse you finish, the better shot you have at getting a better position in the upcoming draft. And there they are right now, tied for 5th with Brooklyn. So if they end there, they will presumably be able to keep their pick depending on how the lottery balls bounce, because you could still fall further than 6. And if they do fall below 6, they lose that first round pick. But all in all, this is really tough to watch with everybody out, quote unquote, injured. We know Embiid is, we've discussed Embiid and we can further, but man, that product they're putting out just sucks.
Listen, I have to sit there and you told me to do my best Bill Furman impression. I think the NBA's product has been just horrible. You're seeing it now with teams that are so far ahead, and they have their key guys coming into town. If you're a Sixers fan and you got tickets and you got to pay for it, like a girl I work with bought Sixers tickets for Christmas for her husband, and $150 tickets are now worth $15. You mean, and I agree with you, Joe. I really haven't talked to him, and I'll be honest with you, I probably watched the least amount of Sixers this year than I've done in a very long time. And I'm almost to the point, until they sell this team, I really don't even want to know anything about them. Like they have been treated like the redheaded stepchildren of the ownership group. And now that the Commanders did so well, I'm sure it's going to be even worse for Harris and company. But they kept doing the same dumb thing, getting guys past their prime who just never could do more than what pad the stats. And then Embiid, let's talk about Embiid for a second. I used to be the first one saying generational talent. Me and you probably in the same boat for a very long time.
Yep.
But the Olympics really was what pushed me out of just caring anymore about that situation. Like, you're telling me here's a guy who has destroyed knees. Tell me they didn't know what they were. They had to go to how many different doctors to finally get somebody to say, yes, his knees are okay. Sign him for that much money. Now you're literally stuck with him. You literally have no choice but to pay this guy, especially with the NBA. And now you're wasting a guy like Tyrese Maxey's career. And the product, like you said, is just, I mean, I can say, hey, Chet, I've got courtside tickets for you tonight, plus a briefcase full of money, and you still probably think about going if it's worthwhile.
Well, I was at a Glenn Macnow fundraiser back in November, and I bid on Sixers tickets, and believe it or not, you probably do believe it, I was the only bidder. I won the tickets, didn't cost an arm and a leg. And of course, I get to the game, which was February 18th or something like that. They played Oklahoma City, and Embiid, George, and Maxey were all out of the lineup, which we've seen, pretty regularly now. But yeah, it was just dreadful. And that's what it's been most nights of late. And it's just sorry to watch. And I was a huge fan of Embiid, as you said, years ago. But the guy just didn't do enough to keep himself healthy and to stay in shape. Injuries are going to happen, but he just didn't do enough to stay healthy and stay in good shape. Yeah. And then, I was kind of okay with the Olympics thing. I thought I took the Mike Sealski approach. Well, he's got to be around winners. And so he'll, learn from these guys, and some of that winning attitude will rub off. No, then they give him the big contract a month later, knowing that he still had knee issues, but they thought they could manage it. They couldn't. Like so many other Sixers decisions, they were bad decisions.
And that's the thing, is like, oh, well, you're going to let him play in the, like, I know you didn't let him or not let him, whatever it is. I know ultimately it was his decision, but you're going to sign, like, I would be like, listen, this money's yours, but you're not playing in the Olympics. We're literally going to tell people you're not playing in back-to-back games. They made that announcement before the season started. You're not allowed to play in back-to-back games, but you're going to go play in the Olympics before. Now you're not even ready for the start of the season. But it's the same thing. The Sixers come out either slow and then get hot, or stay hot until about right around December, January, and then Embiid gets hurt, and then it's a trade deadline, or what are they going to do? Are they going to be able to bring somebody in? And the Eagles have, like I've said, showed you anything. One of the most important thing is organizational philosophy, and there is none. And I don't know there's much in the NBA, let alone it. Like, their numbers are down.
Oh yeah,
and they have to make changes. And I'm telling you, come the next collective bargaining and all that stuff for the NBA and the talking between the Players Association and everything, there's going to be some major changes, and they're not going to like it because, like I said, you could Chet sign a deal with the Sixers for $100 billion right now. Go out, your leg can fall off, and they're stuck on the hook to pay you $100 billion, and you're stuck with it.
Al, I'm going to make a lot of people happy right now. That's it for Sixers talk for the night.
There we go. All right.
There you go. Instead, we're going to talk about the fact that Philly Pressbox Radio is now part of the STT Sports Network, a new podcast network. The STT Sports Network is a short thing, an acronym for Set the Trends. It's a network set up by our pal, Phil Stifle. There's Phil. What a good-looking guy, huh? Trending in the AM is the show. Yeah, well, he pays me. A show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Sports Network. Its YouTube channel. Check out Phil and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Phil's show is there, and now so is ours as well. Yeah, Philly Pressbox Radio is there. Be sure to follow Phil's page, his YouTube channel. Check it out. He does a great job on there, setting the trends for what sports talk should be. And I'll tell you what, if you want to know what a successful bar and restaurant should be, well, just look at the Irish Rover. The Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA. Always 24 beers on tap, served up by the Rovers' terrific bartenders, and a full menu of delicious food choices. Check out these weekly specials. Tuesday, a meatloaf dinner for $11.95. Wow. Wednesdays are not only trivia nights, but a night when you can get a prime rib dinner for $19.95, and the Rovers' signature martini for $5. I love this place. Thursdays bring a couple different killer burgers from which to choose. And in the evening, Thursday, $9 wings and a $5 giant Stella Pour. What else? Well, dinner specials, Thursday through Sunday, happy hour meals or deals, Monday through Friday, live music Saturday nights. And then on Sunday, a $5 Sunday Fun Day menu. And on the calendar for next week, this coming Tuesday, another fantastic paint and sip event at the Rover. Get your tickets before that one sells out. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can find them on the web at irishroverstationhouse.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Anthony Wolf Liberto from the Burning Sky Band, and you're watching Philly Pressbox Radio with my guys, Bill and Chet. Hope to see you soon at one of our shows.
Yeah, and I will tell you that one of those upcoming Burning Sky shows happens to be this Saturday evening, 8 p.m. at Well Crafted Beer Pub in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. Check the website, theburningskyband.com, for details. And Al, speaking of beer, my choice tonight, a Sam Adams Old Fezziwig, rich and spiced. Even though it's the first day of spring, I'm still cleaning out my Christmas collection of beers.
I still think I have some Golden Monkey in there. That's what makes me that's my go-to beer anymore. That, and I've been more of a bourbon guy lately. So I've been just I got the Canton, Ohio bourbon. I've got the Cooperstown Special bourbon. All great bourbons. And I think that's when we hang out the next time, Chet, I'm going to introduce you to that collection.
Can you get a driver for me also?
Sure, why not?
All right. Well, Al, before I forget, I want to give you a couple of minutes to tell everybody about Delco Day. Is it really the 10th year that this event's been happening?
10 years since we came up with the idea of drinking for money. I mean, listen, yes. So my other pet project that was, even before EOP, I was Delco Delco Live, which you see me and that other wildebeest in the purple and black flannel right there. Hollywood Holbrook, which you've met a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most interesting human beings you'll ever meet. PJ Dolan of Dolan's Bar right there to the far left corner. If you're looking at your screen, you've met Spaz before, and that's Monty Ice in the back who's been helping out as well. There's a lot of I can't make any real announcements yet because all the ink is starting to dry, but hasn't fully dried yet. But what I can tell you is if you've never been, for those who don't know what Delco is, there's, that rock, kind of time to climb under it. I started doing Delco Live it was not Delco Live 10 years ago, but about 6 years ago, right before EOP started, I was Delco Live. Still do Delco Live a little bit more, just the social media end of things. But a lot of it's ran by Hollywood Holbrook. But what Delco Day is, we raise money for the Headstrong Foundation with a 12-hour party. And boy, let me tell you, I cannot feel my legs that Sunday after every Delco Day. This year we'll be at Dolan's Bar, one name that you've said numerous times. Irish Rover House is a great bar, but it's in Delco, Dolan's Bar is the Irish Rover of Delco, right in Ridley Park, right off of 95. If you're coming from south the airport, north of Wilmington, we've raised $150,000 for the Headstrong Foundation over the years. They actually are able to get a house now in Boston. And what Headstrong is, for those who don't know, kind of like the Ronald McDonald House in some ways, but it allows people. What people don't really know is Philadelphia is one of the biggest hubs for cancer treatment. A lot of specialty cancer treatments could be found in Philly, or one of the few places is Philly. And what's nice about it is Headstrong has allowed people to come stay there, get the treatment they need without having to pay a dime, and be able to live in a healthy life when they normally wouldn't have been able to. The first time we met them, the funniest story is not funny, but funny story how it kind of came about is they built a house in Swarthmore in Delaware County, about blocks away from my new house here. And there was a neighbor, very strange woman. We'll just leave her name out of it. She complained about the build. They built they took a house and they redid it beautifully. And they had to do it specially because even like the paint was like antibacterial paint or micro something paint that they had to use because it's supposed to stay clean. And then people have special needs there and all that because they were getting cancer treatment. She had the gall to complain about having cancer patients live next to them. Like, I don't know these people who are coming in and out. I'm like, you never know who's going to buy the house. You don't get a choice. I hate to break it to you. So she really got under our skin. Mike, how you doing, buddy? She really got under our skin, and then that's how I kind of met Headstrong. And Delco Day 3 was the first Delco Day we started putting all the money towards Headstrong. Prior to that was Vestacop, where it helped cops get vests who were new cops who couldn't afford their vest on their own. But they kind of became self-reliant. So we found another one, which was Headstrong, and been working with them. And each year we have a different family or families who have been, struck by the cancer bug and not being able to, get the right treatment or the finances they need. And it's actually helped out our boy, Freddie Burns. He was that Delco Day 8 picture. That was the Delco Day we did for Freddie and his family. And when I was able to do that, it made me go, man, I'm kind of glad I stuck with this as long as I did, because it's those kind of things that make this stuff worthwhile, especially when it hits that close to home. But yeah, so it's going to be at Dolan's June 7th. It's 12 hours, 2 to 2. There's going to be some great bands. Some I can't announce yet, but I'm sure, Chet, you're going to know some of these names when it comes out. And it's you can come and go as you please. It's we get the township to really help us lock out some of the parts of the street, so we have a lot of space to work with. Great food, great drinks. Certain beer companies you heard of will be working with us. Some bourbon whiskey companies will be working with that you'll know of once we can announce who they are. But we're right now, the announcements will be coming probably in early April, and maybe I'll make my next stop here be the first announcement officially here on Philly Pressbox Radio.
Oh, you're welcome here anytime, Al. And hey, getting back to that picture that you posted last week regarding Delco Day 10. I love this comment from PJ Dolan. Again, he's the guy in the bottom left. He said, The country's best collection of overweight men are on the precipice of throwing the greatest party this region has ever seen.
Yes. Self-loathing. That's Delco right there. We're self-loathing. We have no problem saying not nice things about each other. Like I said, that purple flannel wearing wildebeest. He's one of my good friends, and he'd probably sit there shed a tear because I said that. But no, listen, some of the greatest people, and like if you've never been to Dolan's, I mean, I know you've been there a few times.
Oh yeah,
I believe they're gonna have another Wiffle Ball Madness in May, so I'll let you once the announcement comes out for that too. Don't tell Dolan I said it out loud, but whatever. Okay, he'll get over it. But if you've ever been to that, they always throw a great party. So it's time that we moved it to Dolan's, and it's gonna be the best one because it's the 10th one, and we have some special announcements to make that's gonna really blow some minds.
And this is not official, and I'm not making this as an announcement, but don't be surprised if WMMR's Brent Porsche shows up, because that is his local hangout. He loves Dolan's, and I can see why it's a great place. So June 7th, Delco Day 10. Well, Al, I was down in Clearwater, as I mentioned earlier this week, and I went to the Phillies Blue Jays game Monday. And before the first pitch, I got a chance to sit down with the great Chris Wheeler up in the press box. As most diehard Phillies fans know, Wheels has been the PA man for the Phillies down at spring training for more than a half century. And here is our chat. As soon as it loads. Don't fail me now.
Listen, I'm sure it'll show up, but I've met Wheels a couple times. One of my first interviews, actually, Chris Wheeler at EOP, and one of the greatest. So, I mean, I'm sure that'll be up in a minute, but Wheeler is one of the...
I'm going to reload it.
There you go.
I'm going to redo it. So let's see what happens. I tested it beforehand, and it worked.
Of course you did. It's how that's what live broadcasts are all about.
Leading off for the Philadelphia Phillies.
And now I'm frozen.
The designated hitter, number 12, Kyle Schwarber.
Okay, we are talking with Mr. Spring Training himself, Chris Wheeler. Wheels, refresh my memory. How long have you been doing this?
My first spring training down here, Chet, was 1972. And that was the day that Larry Schenck came to me, my boss at the time, and said, have you ever done the PA before? And I said, yeah, sure. I hadn't. He said, well, our regular PA announcer got a little banged up last night, overserved, and he's not going to make it. So would you do it? And I kind of wally-pipped him.
I love it. All right. So the last 3 seasons, the Phillies didn't quite get to the finish line. Very disappointing, especially, I guess, last year, winning the division, but kind of stumbling down the stretch and then getting beaten by the Mets in 4 games. Is there extra motivation, do you think, after something like that?
Well, as I always tell you when we do shows, I'm not around them anymore, so I don't know them. I have gotten to know Rob Thompson and some of the coaches a little bit, and they're just terrific, and they're very motivated. And look, there's windows involved in any team, and this team is getting close. It's like our 80 team needed to win. Our 2008 team didn't win again after that. Didn't win a World Series after that, even though they maybe should have. This team got into a World Series pretty quick. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of motivation, but there's so much goes into a long baseball season. This team was very, very good for the most part last year, and then kind of went down. The Mets got really hot. So, yeah, a lot of these guys are getting a little bit older right now, and it's probably getting closer to the time when they need to get to a World Series and hopefully win one.
Trey Turner, the shortstop, was having a real good year before the injury, then came back and was never quite the same after that. His final numbers didn't look bad, but you would like to see him, hit 300 and steal more bases than he did last year. I know the hamstring was an issue last year. What do you expect from Turner?
Well, they're experimenting with the batting order, as everybody knows. And this week, when you're down here, you will see that they will move him around a little bit. Turner really was struggling early on, swinging through a lot of pitches, taking a lot of pitches. I think he's trying to be more selective. I think he's trying to get on base more because they understand how important that is. Get him away from thinking about hitting home runs because he'll hit them by accident. The last, I want to say, week, he started to look pretty good. Spring training. I remember one year John Kruk had an offer down here and hit 300. So we had a guy over here the other day with the Tampa Bay Rays had 12 hits already. Well, he's going to leave them here. But what you're trying to look for is contact, speed of the ball off the bat and those kind of things, which I don't look at numbers. I can hear it and see it. And he's starting to put it together a little bit. So, knock on wood, he's going to be okay.
So if you were the manager, would you have Turner at the top of the lineup?
That's such a hard question. When you look at the success that this team has had, with Kyle Schwarber leading off. Now, he's been struggling this spring. He is not close to being where you hope him to be, swinging through a lot of pitches late. But, everybody, you look at Schwarber and you know what he can do, and he should be fine. I don't know. Turner, quote unquote, is a prototypical leadoff hitter that we grew up with. A guy that can run, steal bases, and he's Jimmy Rollins like in that he can pop one and give you a lead right out of the chute. So then you always have to think about who's hitting after that. We're going to have Harper in there where he's comfortable. Harper loves to hit third. Does he want a base stealer in front of him? I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that.
All right. So we're hoping for a big year out of Turner, but waiting in the wings, a guy named Aiden Miller, who everybody says should be ready for sure by next year. What do you do when you have Turner and Aiden Miller both willing and ready to play shortstop?
Always a good problem.
Yeah.
If you have two people that are that good. Now, Aiden Miller is a prospect.
Right.
Trey Turner is a star. So we'll see. I saw Miller play down here because I get to stay here till July every year. And I saw Crawford and Aiden Miller play down here for the Threshers, right where we're sitting right now in this area. He has his body's gotten bigger already. Is he going to outgrow shortstop? I don't know, but he's a big kid. He's over 6 foot, and he's putting on some good weight and all those kind of things. Good bat, but this is major leagues.
Yeah,
Jim, forget this where we are doing this show is this gorgeous, beautiful ballpark. Baycare Ballpark. But Jim Fregosi used to say when a guy's having a hot spring or doing, let's see what he does when he sees an upper deck. So there's so far to go with that. But all I can tell you is watching Crawford and watching Miller the last couple of years down here, and a little bit we've seen them in spring training this year, they're both potential big league players.
Phillies didn't make any huge moves over the winter, but they did get a new left fielder, Max Kepler. I'm intrigued by him. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully he can hit both lefties and righties. But what do you like about Kepler?
Everything. But, it's spring training.
Yeah.
But, I've seen him play here. He seemed like he came over here a lot with the Twins over the years. Always thought, he looked like a pretty good player. He's a big guy. I think that will surprise people how physically big he is. He can run. He can play the outfield. Now he's playing a new position, left field. But when you're athletic as this guy is, and he's hit some home runs in spring training, he's walked. He's made a lot of hard contact. You mentioned left-handers. He hasn't seen that many left-handers. They didn't start him on Scooble the other day. Scooble was just, for Detroit, was just ridiculous. So it was like, I think Rob Thompson probably thought, I don't think I'm going to play him today. He's got a good swing going right now. Why mess him up with a guy like Scooble? So he is a very intriguing player, and I'll be interested to see what he can do, whether he's an everyday player, whether he and Marsh are everyday players. But we really don't have a lot from the right side as far as right fielder goes, especially with the Weston Wilson's injury right out of the chute in batting practice here in spring training. So I don't know. You need those guys to play. You want them to play. Rojas has been a little slow coming back this year because of his shoulder. But the day that you and I taped this show, we both saw him out here throwing. So that's the next step for him to go because he's swinging the bat decent. But he's another one you don't know till they get to that upper deck.
One thing everybody really likes as a Phillies fan is the starting rotation.
Yeah.
Maybe the best in baseball. What do you think of these five guys?
It's good. And Zach Wheeler's going to be 35 in a month. Yeah, that's what I mean about the window. Aaron Nola's 32.
Yeah.
I love Jesus Luzardo. I really liked him when he was with Miami. That was a trade that was made, unless you're a real baseball fan, you went, who cares?
How about Sanchez, too?
Well, I'm going to get to him. Yeah. Christopher Sanchez is a different guy, and he did show up. You could tell right away he's bigger, but sometimes bigger is not better.
Yeah. But
in his case, his velocities high 90s right now, and he has good off-speed stuff. So yeah, he's really come a long way. So yeah, the starting pitching.
Suarez is a big question mark.
And Ranger is Ranger. He said he never threw hard. So he's not throwing 95 like some of these guys, but Ranger is maybe the smartest of all of them as far as pitching goes, and nothing gets by him. He's such a good defender out there, and it's his walk year too. So sometimes guys on walk years put together even better years. The whole thing, I think, with Rangers, he has to stay healthy because the last couple of years, Chet, he broke down a little bit. There's nothing about Ranger to see that you don't like, except people. He's not. We're so fixated on velocity nowadays. Not as important with a left-hander anyway, in my opinion, because their ball moves so much naturally. Would you like him to be 93, 90? Sure. And will he be? Maybe. But he can do so many other things, and he's a quote-unquote pitcher.
Lastly, there's the bullpen. They lost Hoffman. They lost Estevez. Picked up, I guess, Romano. What do you think of the pen? Who's going to close? Do we know?
I'll tell you what, Alvarado's ridiculous right now.
When he's on, he's great.
Oh, my goodness. And he's smaller. That's smaller. You can tell when you'll see him. Anyway, he's just, they use that term filthy.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to hit off him. You can see that. He gets so many swings and misses, his velocity, and he's throwing cutters now and sinkers. And he's another guy. Has to stay healthy. But he reported like 15 pounds under from what he was before. So he's really good. Kirkering's been very good. He's got great potential. You mentioned Jordan Romano, who's a big-time relief pitcher who had some problems last year physically. But I saw him enough times here with Toronto over the years, and I thought that was a great signing. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. After that, Matt Strom, we haven't seen much of him. We saw him 2 times, and he
shoulder injury, right?
Yeah, it was. But they said he threw the other day, and he's talking about being fine and maybe even ready. Mm-hmm. If he isn't ready, he's close. So we need him. Obviously, need him because of the two guys you mentioned that we missed. So Tanner Banks is. He's one of those guys who can get a left-hander hitter out a little bit, but there's not a whole lot there. A couple of guys in spring training they're flirting with a little bit, but we'll see what happens with those guys.
Lastly, the NL East could be the most competitive division in baseball. 3 teams that a lot of people think will be, in the hunt for the National League pennant: Braves, Mets, Phils. How do you see this playing out?
Well, you just hit it right at the start. This is a very tough division. I don't know what's tougher. Maybe the West. I don't know that the Dodgers have more competition than we have in this division. The Braves are going to be better because they were hurt so much last year. Everybody's given the division title to the Mets because of Soto coming over, but their starting pitching is kind of crazy. So they have Clay Holmes, who was a Yankee reliever all those times, has been very, very good in spring training as a starter. They took a chance there, and I guarantee the Yankees wish they had him back right now with all their problems that they're having. Washington is a team that is getting better and better every year. They've got pretty good young players. The Marlins are always in a period of, you don't know. But one thing about the Marlins is they always have athletes playing, good young athletes playing for them. But the top 3 here with Atlanta, the Phillies, and the Mets. When did Danny Ozark say that one year throw a blanket over him at the end of the year? I think those 3 teams should be very competitive all year, and with which one will step out and take over, we'll see. Personally, I don't like the idea of watching Soto. It was so nice to get him out of our division when he went to San Diego and then the Yankees, but to have to deal with him, he's tough. And when they brought back Alonso, I was hoping he would leave, that they would not get there with him. But with having Soto in that lineup, and Alonso has to be so much more relaxed.
Yeah, going to be interesting. Hey, bonus question.
Yeah.
As a Penn State guy, how happy were you to see Saquon Barkley have the season he had and the Eagles go to the Super Bowl winning?
Because you and I have talked about Saquon Barkley over the years. You know what I thought of him as a cop. So I'm not surprised.
Great player, great guy.
Yeah, when he was great guy. Oh, my goodness. He's a Hall of Fame human being, too, as you know. Yeah. And the Eagles fans know. I was lucky enough to get to meet him up there and be in his company and heard what the coaches said about him when he was 18 years old. No surprises there. Penn State had really good offensive lines in the days that he played there, so he was Saquon. Then he went to the Giants, and obviously they couldn't do anything for him. The Eagles have a great offensive line. So he became Saquon Barkley again, but I'm very happy for him.
Mr. Spring Training. Chris Wheeler, great seeing you again, my friend.
You too, Chet. Always a pleasure.
Yo, Al.
It's a great interview. I listen. One thing is, and actually when I first had a chance to interview him, I was very nervous because it was my first bigger interview about 7-8 years ago. And I asked him a question that we were kind of contemplating if I was going to ask this question, because Chris Wheeler got some hate over the years from people. And, you know, he's just a very knowledgeable person. And I think some people thought that is kind of a know-it-all-ish kind of attitude from him. But he called Saquon Barkley a Hall of Fame human being. But Chris Wheeler is a Hall of Fame human being. And he is just, you know, like I said, I really thought people gave him a bum rap. And when I did an interview with him, I think it changed a lot of people's minds about the kind of human being he was, or he is, I should say. And, you know, he was spot on a lot of things he said in that interview.
I met him at one of the Phillies annual December events at the New Era store, or whatever it was called at the time, maybe 10 years ago. And he's been on our show now 17 times. He's been nothing but kind to, you know, me over the years. So yeah, I think he's a great guy. Hey, you know who else is a great guy? Cav at Cav's Philly Tailgates. And boy, these guys are cooking up terrific catering work still 35 years in, known best for their tailgate parties. Cav is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgates, Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest, and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cav's also does corporate events, parties, you name it. Of course, Cav hosts tailgates before all Eagles games outside the link, and there'll be various tailgates outside Citizens Bank Park this spring and summer too, and that includes one before opening day, Monday, March 31st, plus pregame tailgates before a couple of other big games this spring and early summer, Saturday games against the Dodgers in April and the Mets in June. Oh, check out this. This is the sign in the outfield at Baycare Ballpark in Clearwater. Just saw it the other day. There is Cav and a bunch of happy tailgaters with John Middleton earlier this month. Get the details, by the way, on all upcoming events at Cav's website, phillytailgates.com. And if you have any questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cav's Philly Tailgates is the way to go. And by the way, while I was down there on Monday at the ball game, I ran into these guys, Cav himself and Vince Rizzuto of Philly Sports Trips. Always good to hang with those guys. A good time always.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get to see Philly Sports Trips, and they're in the outfield, Cavs, and you got Philly Sports Trips right there in the dugout. So they really have come a long way. I actually stay in contact with Vince too, and just still wonderful people. I'm so happy for them, and I'm glad you got down to Clearwater, because that is my home away from home. That actually is my retirement plan. I told my wife this the other day. I said I would love to go work, you know, or at least be like live down there for spring training and work there when I retired, because that's all it is. A lot of guys who are retired who work down there, who run the ballpark, you know, concessions or, you know, whatever. So that would be an ultimate retirement plan for me, because I'm just a baseball guy. I just love baseball.
30 seconds, Al. What's your outlook for the Phillies this season? Because we're going to do our season preview show next year. How many wins? How far do they go?
I think wins wise will be like right around the 95 marker. And I think I'm probably higher on the Phillies than most people are right now, because again, it's not a team that need a big signing. They just need the right signings. And my big point was philosophy change with this team. So I'm going to go. I think they can go right to up to the divisional race there. No problem. It's up to them if they want to go further into the World Series.
Wow. All right. Bill and I will make our picks next week. And let me tell you that next week on the show, tough act to follow for this guy. But yeah, the man himself next week, Phil Stifel, will be joining us on the show next week. He will be live with us talking all things Philly sports. Plus, we will hear from Scott Fransky, the Phillies radio voice for nearly 2 decades now. He's going to be with us for a 7th consecutive spring to help us preview the Phillies season. Scott is terrific. That show Wednesday at 7 p.m. back in our regular time slot. Al, this was great. We got to get you back on again to talk more about Delco Day right before that happens in June. All right?
Absolutely. Book it.
All right. Well, with that, let's wrap it up. Big thanks to Chris Wheeler for spending lots of time with me down in Clearwater the other day for the interview that aired this evening, and to my very special fill-in co-host for the evening, Big Al Zaffiri. Great stuff as always, Al. Also to our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, and PPC 118 Raz Room. For the vacationing Bill Furman, I'm Chet, and we hope you enjoyed the show. and we'll join Philly Pressbox Radio again Wednesday, March 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can see us live on Facebook and on our Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel and on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel as well. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and go Phillies!
I hope